Patrick Bet-David Vault Conference. Is it worth it? In this video, we're going to break down the good, the bad, the ugly. I just got back from Vault. We're going to break it all down. We're going to give you an event overview. We're going to give you key takeaways, the good, bad, and the ugly, and then my final takeaways from the video. Stay tuned. If you're considering whether or not to attend Vault, this is the video for you. All right, let's go. Okay, so day one Vault, I arrived in West Palm Beach. The event was at the Hilton and the Palm Beach Conference and Expo Center. There were 6,000 people that were scheduled to be there, so tons of attendees, big name guests like The Rock, Will Gadara, Nick Saban, Max Tegmark, all scheduled to go and speak with Patrick Bet-David and the Valuetainment Squad. So roll up on Wednesday, and I've already registered. Go in, get my package, which has the classic Patrick Bet-David study guide, some other swag, and the kind of stuff that you get in these swag bags. And I was immediately greeted by some of the Valuetainment reps, and they connected me and said, "Hey, Mark, you're in marketing. You do AI stuff here. Come talk to this guy." So that awkward feeling that you often get when you go to a conference where you don't know everyone and you're like, who do I want to talk to? Is it okay to go talk to that group of people? What about that group of people? Immediately alleviated by the staff that was there in place. And I thought that was a great way to get things rolling. They were able to edify me to some other people, and as I was kind of walking around, I was introduced by the staff to more people. So it was a cool way to get it started. Tons of networking. One of the things that I recognize at the Vault event is that the caliber of people that are there, very high. Everyone there is to become the best version of themselves. Everyone there is trying to generate a better business, is trying to have a better marriage, raise better kids. Patrick Bet-David is a more conservative leaning guy. And so that was a little bit more of the vibe, although it was not very political at all. Although his PBD podcast often talks politics, didn't get a whole lot of political conversation. Everyone was really there to grow their business, meet new people, and to network. Another thing that you will note when you attend the Vault conference is there are different tiers: general, platinum, executive, founder, and CEO, I believe. So there's about 5 or 6 different tiers. And there's some benefits that come with the different tiers. But one of the things that you would note is everyone's got their lanyards with their tag on them, very visible. It became kind of like this deal where oh, that person's a CEO. I got to talk to that person because they're obviously killing it. To be a CEO at the event, I think the cost was around $10,000 to $15,000 to be in attendance. To get a general ticket, it was around $500. So a pretty big disparity in the cost, the commitment, the actual money. Like if you're dropping 10, 15 grand to be at an event, you've got a pretty good business. You're ready to scale the thing up. If you're paying 400, 500, you might just be a fan of the podcast. You want to go hang out. So there is that kind of tier. Also, the more you pay, the more access to Patrick you get. You get to sit closer to the event, which again, at an event with 6,000 people, being closer to the front gives you a more engaging situation. I'll talk to you more about that when I give you some more experience, some personal experience that I had at the event. And then the closer you are, like the CEO, you get private sessions, private group sessions where it's much more intimate. There's only maybe 100 people in the room. You're asking questions with PBD and Tom and the rest of the squad. And then there were exclusive dinners, VIP after parties, that sort of thing. So if you're paying the big bucks, you're going to be networking, you're getting more access. And we can kind of talk about that a little bit more as I go into it. So you're walking around, you're getting your badge, you're talking to people, you're connecting. Another thing I will note is that they use their own BDC, Bet-David Consulting app for the entire event. And I got to say, I thought the app was awesome. It was very well done. It was very clear where things were happening, who was involved, what time stuff was occurring. It had an entire networking within the app. I've used a lot of these event apps before, and I thought that the event app was actually really well done. I was very surprised at how professional the app was executed. The other big app that was being promoted at the event was his Minnect app, which allows you to connect with professionals, ask quick questions in exchange for cash. So for example, if you want to talk with an expert in advertising, you can send them a Minnect request for $25 for a 15-minute call, or for a quick text response or a video response. And there's all sorts of different tiers. So anyway, that was there's a big emphasis on being involved with Minnect at the event as well. So lots of networking day one. lots of high caliber people. Everyone was dressed to impress. That's a big part. There's kind of a one-upping. You want to be the best dressed person in the room. And I don't normally dress up in suits. If I go back again, I'll get back to that at the end of this because you can only go to so many conferences a year. You want to dress to impress. You want to bring your nice clothes. That's what else can I say? Everyone's kind of trying to be the best dressed person in the room. And I will also say, if you were a CEO, if you were in that top tier, you were dressed to kill. And I think, and this was something that was emphasized, in that you want to be the best version of yourself. What would the best version of yourself do? What would the best version of yourself look like? What would they be dressed as? What are they going to eat? And so if you're looking at the best version of yourself, you're probably looking dapper. You know what I'm saying? Again, I was dressed nice, comfortably. I felt good. I looked good, but I wasn't wearing a suit and a tie and all that. So that might be something that I might consider. We'll get back to that at the end of the video. And by the way, if you have any questions about this, smash like, smash subscribe, leave a question below. That's what I do. I'm trying to just help you become the best version of yourself, trying to help you build the best business. All that said, at the end of the evening, or around evening time, there was a networking event. And so everyone kind of shuffled up into this, large room and started networking. Honestly, I would have loved to have seen like a speed networking where like everyone sits down at a table and then there's like everyone try to introduce themselves, then you move to the next table. I find that to be an effective way of meeting dozens of people very, very quickly. However, it was basically just like a big party where, there's drinks and there's food, there's bar, loud music. It was kind of like a loud networking party. And so I was like, this is the same thing I was doing downstairs. It's just twice as loud. So I ended up leaving pretty soon. Also, I felt like I was losing my voice I'm like, day one, I'm losing my voice. Holy crap, what's going on? So I left and kind of networked some more at the hotel. By the way, I really liked the hotel. It was connected to the event. I would also recommend, if you do go to one of these events, stay on campus. You want to stay on campus. Stay in one of the hotels, preferably the actual event hotel itself. I split a room with someone I had met at Vault last year. Shout out to Abraham, IT cybersecurity guru. So anyway, stay on campus, saves a lot of time. There were reports. Actually, let's get into that now. So went to bed, woke up the next day, day 2 Vault. It's actually happening. Huge day, long day, and lots of people having a hard time getting there. So if you've ever been to a Patrick Bet-David event before, he is very serious, almost militant about being on time. The first year I went to a Vault event, I barely made it in time. They closed the doors right behind me, and then they kept them shut for 2 hours. If you were not on time, you weren't getting in. And honestly, pros and cons to that. I kind of like being held accountable, but I'm an adult and I like to know that I can move frequently in and out. But there was a problem. Due to the amount of people, it completely killed traffic. I have a friend of mine, Kiri, who lives in Palm Beach County. She lives in Delray, I think. Anyway, she was trying to get off 95 to get to the event, what is basically like 1.5 miles or so. It should take you 2 minutes maybe to get from 95 to the event. It took her an hour and a half. They just did not have the bandwidth to handle the kind of traffic. It was a huge problem. People were late. It was crazy. It was chaos. Me, I got to wake up, eat some coffee, drink some coffee, eat some oatmeal, and then walk into the event leisurely. But a lot of people had trouble actually getting to the event venue due to these traffic constraints. So stay at the event hotel. Now, let me just tell you something. When you go to a Vault event, you got to be ready. It is endurance times X. The first day went from 8:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. There were 3.5 to 4 hour sessions throughout the day. These sessions are long. And he really, PBD, by the way, on it. That guy is just like liquid fire. Although I will say, if you're on front of the stage and you're speaking, it's like the adrenaline hits you. So it's a little bit easier. I found that I was often standing up, kind of walking around in the back or the side of the room just to kind of stay jogged. I find that if I'm sitting down for too long, I start to get kind of tired, sluggish, losing my attention. But I wanted to be locked in. I wanted to learn as much as possible. So you had 3.5 to 4 hour events, 2 lunch breaks. The lunch breaks were crazy. There were long lines. It was packed. I had actually pre-ordered boxed lunch. They were selling boxed lunches the day before, and I'm really glad I did because I was able to get my lunch and and go eat just on the patio there very quickly, very easily. Didn't have to wait any long lines. But I saw the lines out by the food trucks. They had a bunch of food trucks. Shout out to Chick-fil-A. Had a food truck, but the lines were insane. Your entire break would have been waiting in line, which, by the way, is a good place to network. I also noticed, just another side note, there's so much to cover here. There were a lot of people networking in the bathroom line, which I was like, it felt weird saying like, hey, scan my digital business card. Can I see your business card in the middle of the bathroom line? It just felt a little bit weird. But look, if you're going to be in the bathroom line for 10 to 15 minutes, I mean, what else are you going to do? Long story short, networking in lines, very good. Networking in the bathroom line, maybe. I saw a guy like, while he was taking a leak, like trying to exchange business cards with someone. I'm like, bro, like, just, you could probably wait a minute, but here it goes. Just as another quick side note, quick aside, lots of asides here today. That's what I'm doing. I set up a digital business card and automated it to automatically send all of my contacts to my CRM and then send out some nurture campaign emails automatically to learn more about them, get a survey on them to see how I can refer them business, how I can help them. And it turned out phenomenally. Phenomenally. I actually have an entire video on that. I'll put a link up here and in the description, so you can definitely check that out. I think you're going to like that because it's completely changed the way I network. It's made it so much quicker, so much easier. I was using an app called Hi Hello. Awesome. It even has an integration where you can scan business cards digitally and automatically adds them to your CRM, automatically sends some follow-up emails to stay connected. Was very, very happy with how that turned out. It was just awesome. So day one of the official event, day two of the event, heavy work, heavy teaching. We're going through this workbook, which if you've been to a Vault event before, you might recognize it. It is essentially the same book as last year. And it basically what it does is it goes through five main topics. And it starts with learning yourself, who you want to be. Then it goes into learning the ability to reason, how to figure out problems, how to figure out what you want to do, interpreting data, stuff like that, KPIs that you might want to look out for. Then it goes into building your team, building to scale, and then finally making power moves, networking, crushing the competition. So there's five main parts. Part one was by far the longest, and quite frankly, in my case, probably the most valuable, which is getting to know yourself. I'll talk more about that once I get through the overall review of events. The book I think is awesome. It's very well done. And what was interesting to me is it's the same book as last year, but it hit very different because I'm in a very different place. And I was able to just get a lot out of it, got a lot of insights. And as a business owner, it's sometimes very difficult to actually get focused on your business because you're just so busy working in the day-to-day stuff. So huge day, got finished at about 10:30. We were running late. Again, traffic, food lines, all that. Finished up at 10:30 where Patrick says, all right, now that you're done, I want you to go home. I don't want you to go to the bar. I don't want you to go talk to that girl. I want you to go back to your room and you're going to do this homework. I want you to spend 1 hour doing the homework. And the homework is basically a bunch of questions to jog yourself, to get yourself thinking about what you want to do. I did about 30 minutes and I was like, man, I'm done. It's 11:30. I'm going to sleep. Woke up early, and then I finished the second half, spent another about 45 minutes in the morning over breakfast, filling that out on day two. Because as soon as the first day of education ends, then the second day of education ends. And the second day was also very intense, not quite as intense. We were doing not 3 sessions, but 2 sessions. The first session was 3.5 hours. The second session was 4.5 hours. Long sessions, lots of education, lots of case studies. And so it was huge. Let me this is probably a good time to talk about case studies a little bit. So one of the things that happens at these events with Patrick, that happens at Vault, is he's going to do a case study. He's going to ask you a question based on what you've been learning about yourself, about building a team, about reasoning, etc. And he's going to ask a question. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to turn around and you're going to speak to basically create groups of 4 to 5 people. And I had a general ticket, so I was sitting in the back, and there were a couple of these sessions, these case studies I thought were really valuable. Like I got to meet some cool people, some similar thinkers. Shout out Sebastian, dope dude there. And so that was cool. But there were some sessions where I was like, these people don't want to be here. They don't want to be here. And it was kind of like, I don't really want to be, I kind of felt stuck. I was kind of stuck in a conversation with someone that was like, not like, they just wanted to like scroll Instagram. And it made me think, maybe it is worth, if I go again, we'll get to that in a minute. If I go again to a Vault conference, I'm probably going to want to be closer to the front. It's probably worth paying more money for a higher level ticket so I can be sitting and networking with people that are more invested in what they're doing. And quite frankly, PBD called it out. PBD was calling people out, saying people are leaving early, they were not invested. He's like, we might even cancel the general and the platinum. There's too many weaklings in here. You know what I mean? Which he will never do, because like the event was slam packed. His goal is to take it from 6,000 this year to 15,000 next year. But it was kind of a challenge. I didn't mention this before, but I think this is important to mention as well. At previous Vault conferences, if you were late, you get locked out. If you wanted to go to the bathroom, there were no bathroom breaks. There was no leaving. Once you were in, you were locked in. I kind of appreciate that. As an entrepreneur, I like to have some accountability. I like to have someone push me to be the best version of myself. But I got to say, at this event, if you wanted to walk out, if you wanted to go to the bathroom, if you want to get a coffee, you could do that. It's way better. Pat, it's just way better. It's way better, man. It's just way better. If I have to take a leak, I can go. You know what I'm saying? It's just better. I did like the intensity, but once you start to get to these huge crowds, it's just nice to be able to say, okay, I'm going to go cap off my coffee and then I'll come back. And you don't feel like you miss as much, because again, once the rush happens, you can't actually get anything because of the lines. So that was a change this year from previous years, and it was welcome. I liked it. So we're still in day 3. So another thing that happened on day 3 with the second day of sessions and education was they had a Minnect dinner event. Again, I'm telling you my experience. There are CEO dinners, executive dinners as well happening on these days, but there was a Minnect dinner, which Minnect users could pre-register for, and that was actually pretty dope. Tom was in there, Adam was in there, Vinny was in there, a bunch of the staff was in there. I didn't know many people in there, but I was able to sit down at a table with some guys that looked pretty welcoming. It was freaking amazing. It turns out I got to sit next to like the entire tech team for Minnect. And they were talking about first party versus third party data, how they're using AI, how they see AI, not giving away company secrets, but actually having like a really, I think, interesting discourse into, marketing in data and formulas in AI and how to use it and how not to use it. Super fascinating. And Ben, one of the main guys there, actually got called up on stage to speak for a little bit, because he was just unbelievably knowledgeable on how to retrieve and leverage data to make better decisions. So anyway, that was pretty amazing. So after the basically event was over for the day, I decided to go and have a cigar on the pool deck, talking to people. And again, this is one of the cool things that happens at these events. You just meet people. You're meeting people. Sit down, smoke a cigar. One person comes, 2 person comes, 3. Even if you don't know anyone, as long as you can smile and wave, like you're just going to keep meeting awesome people. I think I walked away with like 50 to 60 new networking connections. So love y'all. Think you're awesome. Let's go crush it. All right. So that was cool. There was some homework on that night, but it was pretty light. It wasn't as intense. Day 4, the final day, was one 5.5 hour long session. Again, another just really long, intense session. There was less Patrick on day 4. So Tom gave what I thought was a really phenomenal talk on building out your pitch deck, how to pitch what your business does really quickly. I thought it was phenomenal. I will definitely be referencing that again, all in the workbook. So I thought that was really valuable. Will Gadara spoke on stage. I believe it was day 4. And Max Tegmark, who's an AI expert, spoke. I think he spoke on the previous day. Will Gadara may have been the highlight of the event, though. He owned and operated the #1 restaurant in the world, and he did it leveraging this idea of unreasonable hospitality. So he would just go over and beyond to make his customers feel welcome. Like, they removed tables from their restaurant because they wanted to just really deliver this unique experience. He gave one story where there was a couple who had been traveling the world, and this was the last stop on their journey, and they had mentioned, and Will had overheard them say, we didn't get an authentic New York street hot dog. Damn, we missed it. Will heard this. He got into a big argument with, I think, the chef or one of his co-owners, and decided to go out, buy 2 New York street hot dogs, bring them in and serve them to them. And he said that he had, out of serving in these just top-notch Michelin star restaurants his entire life, he'd never seen or heard someone react in the way that they reacted. They were just over the moon. And so he kind of built his whole business off that and became the #1 restaurant in the world. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience. That kind of made me think a bit. And then finally, The Rock was there as well. The Rock was great. I mean, didn't blow me away, but it was interesting to hear him talk. One of the big things that Patrick was doing was pushing him to see if he was going to run for president. He was not going to take the bait. The Rock is a pure professional. The Rock is pure professional. So anyway, that was interesting. And then, by the way, this is a business conference, and there's a heavy influence on being aggressive and selling, but there's no selling, which I think is interesting. We're talking about energy and stamina and selling, and you need to sell, and you got to pick up the phone. And if you are willing to do what it takes, then you could succeed. But there was no selling. Up until this point, we had not been sold on anything except, use Minnect occasionally, right? But there was no selling, which I thought was cool. None of the guest speakers sold anything. None of the guests sold anything. Patrick, none of them sold anything, which I think is good. I've been to conferences in the past where everyone's just selling from stage, and this is not that. This is not selling from stage. Also worth noting that a lot of people brought their team members there. A lot of people brought their wives there. I should have mentioned this earlier. This is kind of, I think, something that really makes this different. So people bring their sales teams there. They're bringing their team members. There were huge teams there. I mean, I think Andy Elliott had 100 salespeople that were there. And honestly, that's something that I think is really valuable, is bringing a team to an event so that they can learn, they can be involved. I also think one of the things that happens when you are on a journey of becoming the best version of yourself is it can be scary to some people. You need to make sure that you're empowering those around you to also become the best version of yourself. Because if you're becoming the best version of yourself, it starts to create a gap between yourself and the people around you. So I find that, I believe it's very important that if you're going to empower and be the best version of yourself, you need to be lifting up everyone around you, from your friends, if possible, your team, and certainly your spouse and your life partner. That's, I think, critical. So into the event comes the final pitch, which is buy tickets for next year, which is join the mastermind, which is all this other, some consulting. So there was a pitch for about 5 to 10 minutes or so. No hard pitch, just, hey, go do it. We've got discounts. You can go buy them now. That's the entire event in a nutshell. After that, people were like going, chilling by the pool. I networked for a little while. It was cool event. Really enjoyed it. Tons of great people. And I think it was just a really solid event, something to think about. So that's the entire event in a nutshell. Let me take a few minutes to talk about some top takeaways, then I'll give you the good, bad, and the ugly, and then you can go along your way and decide if you want to sign up for Vault in the future. This is just my unaltered advice. Okay, so for me, the biggest takeaways were opportunities and leaks. And this is something that we went through in the book quite a few times. Look, doing a self-audit and audit of your business. What are the opportunities for you to make more money? What are the leaks that are costing you money? And I recognize a few for myself. And I think some of my greatest opportunities are building out stronger team, training my team, motivating my team, and by the way, my team is just amazing me in the way that they continuously step up as I push them through competitions, through various benefits, through training, through investment. I've been very impressed with my team recently. They're just kicking so much ass. I feel like I need to, another opportunity is have a running mate, someone who is on the same page as me, motivated and ready to freaking go. That could be a big help in developing an inner circle, 3, 4, maybe 5 people that I know if I've got something, I can call them, and vice versa. And we pick up. And he kind of gave a whole talk on that. I need an inner circle. And quite frankly, the day I got back, I started calling some people that I thought could be good potential inner circle members. You're not going to have many of these in your life, but there's probably a few that come to your mind. I don't have my inner circle members yet, so I can't tell you from personal experience. But I can just tell you just from the couple conversations that I had that is going to be very transformative for me. So I'm excited to do that. And lastly, having an advisor, having a consultant, a coach, someone who's already done what I want to do so I can learn from them and learn from their mistakes. I think that's important. Another opportunity, being more clear on data needs. When I work with a new client, customer, what's the data that I need? How can I get it more quickly? How can I systematize it so the data can be retrieved, located, and analyzed as quickly as possible so we can get the results for the client as quickly as possible? I think that's important, something I noticed. And then how do I systematize my offers as well? This is something I very much struggle with. This is probably my biggest struggle right now is how do I systematize what I do at my marketing agency? We manage YouTube, we build email automations, we manage podcasts for clients. How do I systematize that, make a super, super clear offer to a very niche down audience and crush it for those people? That's something I'm thinking about. That is something I'm very much thinking about and actually really struggling with. So, I don't know what to tell you. You can subscribe and you'll learn more about that, my journey as it goes on, because I think it's relevant. Higher ticket offer. And I kind of learned this from Hormozy, but I want to create a big, hairy, audacious offer. And I think this is really valuable from an anchoring standpoint as well. If you are selling something that's very expensive and then someone says, ooh, that's not for me. Well, now when you offer something that's, if I offer something for $100,000, they're like, whoa, that's crazy. Then the $10,000 offer becomes a lot more palatable. So I think having a big, hairy, audacious offer is great. Also, by the way, if someone says 100K, done, cool. You just landed a big deal. So that's great. So it's a win-win-win. And then I think the last big thing that I had noticed was having a clear vision for my team, mission, and having clear core values. One of the things that we saw that Will Gadara really honed in on was the importance of mission. Repeat your vision. Repeat your vision over and over and over and over. And when you're sick of it, keep repeating it. When people are saying, what are you talking about? Keep repeating it. You want your vision to be contagious. That's something that Patrick does. It's something that Tom Brady was talking about last year. Vision, vision, vision. I kind of struggle with vision. But that is something I'm thinking about. That's potentially a leak of mine. So those are my key takeaways. Now let's get into the last but not least, the good, the bad, the ugly. I know you've been waiting for it. And I want to hear your comments below. Do you think Patrick's a sellout? Do you think Vault is stupid? Did you love the conference? Write your comments below because I'm about to give you my good, bad, and ugly. So the good, networking, top notch, great people. It was just really good. The personal development, love the book. I think it's great. I've gone through all sorts of training materials. Like most personal development workbooks, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. The venue, really liked the venue. Thought it was beautiful. It was nice. Not much to say more there. The room was great. Everyone is very professional there. Dressed to kill, dressed to T. Love that. It's good. I also like this year that there's more freedom. If I need to go to the restroom, I can. If I want to go grab some coffee, I can. Not a problem. If my wife calls, I could go take the call. Again, the freedom is good. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. It's really good. I liked it. The bad. The pool closed at 10 o'clock. What the hell? Like, the very first day, I couldn't even go lounge in the pool if I wanted to because it was closed. Like, leave the pool open, guys. What are you doing? Closing the pool at 10 o'clock? That's not a Vault problem. That's a Hilton problem. You got to leave Don't close down the pool at 10 o'clock, guys. We're adults. I know how to sit in a hot tub, all right? Don't close it. I mentioned this earlier, case studies. If you're in the general, you're doing case studies, you might sit next to some duds. You might sit next to some killers too, but you might sit next to some duds. The lines were long. Lines were long. They were a hassle. That was bad. Long days. They're very long days. Good, bad. You could take that how you work, but the days were really long. There's so much to fill in that short period of time. I would have definitely liked a better networking session. I felt like the event beginning networking session was, I don't know, poorly executed, lazily executed. Give us a speed networking. How can I meet 100 people during that 2-hour session? That's what I want. Help me meet 100 people in that 2-hour session. I think that would be really good. Bad. You will get called out. You will get called out. So I didn't talk about this much, but if you try to leave early, if you are on the mic and ask a dumb question or don't bring the heat, you will get called out. He will call you out, and it can be embarrassing. There was a moment during the event where the information in the workbook was not exactly the same as the information on the slideshow, on the PowerPoint. It was close, but it was not exactly the same. And Patrick was moving through slides very, very quickly. So you could miss stuff. You might not fill in every single word into your workbook. And so one of the CEOs kind of like interrupted the entire session, 6,000 people, was like, Patrick, it's not matching up. Yeah, don't interrupt Patrick like that. He embarrassed him. He got after him pretty bad. It was pretty embarrassing. So anyway, you may get called out. If you're going to speak up, you may get called out. And another bad thing about that was, it's just kind of, if you go up to the mic, it'd be nice to get a chance to talk. I've been to 2 events now. I've never really had the chance to talk. One time I was next up, and then he said, all right, I want to hear from some ladies. And a lady got in front of me, and I was like, oh, so I don't get to go. That stinks. Another time, Patrick said, all right, we're going to come right back to you. It never came back to me. So I kind of like went through that in my head. I could have been more assertive because he asked me a couple questions, and my answers were like one-word answers. I could have been more assertive and gained control of the mic, I think, in hindsight. But, I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. There's 6,000 people. You might not get to speak on the mic. You might not get to ask your question. I could have been more assertive. And the ugly, traffic. Traffic was terrible. Traffic was terrible. That's the ugly. And the second thing I'll mention with the ugly is if you really want to get close, if you want to get to the front, you're going to have to drop a lot of money. There is definitely pay to play. And, it does feel like if you're not shelling out thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, you're not going to get treated by, Patrick and Tom as maybe you're not going to get the attention that you want. And so I think that's my biggest critique. I will also say that everybody wants to talk to him. Everyone wants to talk to him. There's 6,000 people. Everyone wants time with Pat. So everyone wants to ask Tom their business growth question. So, how do you screen people out? You screen people out based on, how much of a commitment, how much of a financial commitment are you willing to put out? And to be clear, I've met with Patrick a number of times before. I've gotten the chance to ask him questions, but they've all been in situations where I've paid sometimes a substantial amount of money to be in the room, like going to one of the events in Fort Lauderdale. You pay $500 for a VIP ticket and you get to kind of go chill in the cigar lounge. You might get to talk to Patrick for a moment. So I would say that to me, that is the most ugly thing, which if that's it, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I will just give you a spoiler alert. I will be there next year. So come up and say, what's up? I will be there next year. And I also bought a ticket for my wife. I upgraded. We're not going to be in general. We're moving up one area up to the executive. My wife is going to be there as well. And I would encourage you, if you are going, if you are married, bring your wife with you. If you can afford it, bring your team with you. There's lots of sales training. Invest in your team and they will invest in you. Just make sure that they're learning, that they're invested. I got to sit next to some people in general that their boss paid for them to be there. I'm not going to blast them out. They could have cared less. They really did not want to be there. They were waiting to drink margaritas in the after party. So that's it. That's the good, the bad, the ugly. Type what you think in the comments below. If you're listening to the podcast, check me out on YouTube. And that's it. I'll see you in the next video. All right, peace.